Alright, here we are, back on the 60. Going to do a few miscellaneous things today, wrap it up. A few miscellaneous things that need to be done still before we go ahead and put this interior back in. You know we've been fighting that air ride. That air ride has kicked my rear end. So aggravating. I think I finally got it figured out. You know, last time we went in and replumbed those switches. And everything you do here to it, as far as those switches, you really need electric actuators. Now, like I said, I'm not an air ride professional or pro, and this is, you know, the first time I've done an air ride like this in probably 15, 20 years. I've only done one other one, and it was really on the front. And it would be what you consider a redneck air ride, so at best. But with these paddle valves in this thing, we were working on Bubba's car, and he's got air ride. And he was saying that the pressure switches in the back, like that come with these kits, are 170 to 200 psi. And you need that kind of pressure to push all the way to the front, push the weight of the motor up quickly. Now, here's the problem with that. If you're running a paddle valve setup like we are here, those paddle valves realistically can't hold 200 pounds of pressure in the back of them, blowing them out. So we've dropped the pressure switch down to about 120 psi and put in good paddle valves, and on his car at least it's held and done really good. So that's what I've elected to do here. I'm also going to put in a fail-safe switch into my compressor so I could kick it on at any time or kick it off at any time. But we're going to start working on those paddle switches today. We're going to put those in, and then we're going to patch this hole that I'm covering up with my big butt in the floor pan. And you remember we done a video on that passenger side where I patched some holes over there on that side. So we're going to do that today, and we're going to try to get to the point where we can actually take the alternator off, because I need to get it to the shop and get it bumped up. It needs to be put on steroids, because the stock alternator and that air compressor, they don't play nice together. It does not like that air compressor. Drops the voltage down way too low, really not charging the battery at that point. So let's try to knock this stuff out. So enough gabbing, let's get to it. Here we go. We'll start right here taking these paddle valves out. I'm going to replace these because that pressure had caused them to bypass at the valve, so they want to leak. So we'll pop those out. They don't leak bad, but they do leak a little bit now, so I'm going to save them for spares in case anything does go bad on any of my good switches. And what I've also elected to do is run my rear end off one switch and tee those two lines together. So this will now be a 3-switch panel. And then I'm going to have one of these extra switches in the hole just in case something ever did happen on the road. So let me get this switch here out. And these switches, they're not terrible to come out of this 3-path bracket right here, but they can be a little aggravating. Where is my utility nut? Ah, right here, sitting on it. I'm going to put a fresh cut on that end so we have a good connection when we go back with the new switch. And this one is going to be a devil. After I said it wasn't that bad to get it out of this pre-fab housing. Take a little screwdriver. go. Alright, there's our old switches. Here's our new switches. Now make sure that you notice, you know, how you're putting these in, because your feed needs to go in the bottom. Or well, that's just the way the other one is set up anyway, so I'm going. Or your supply. It says on the back of the switch, supply delivery. So this now will be our rear bag switch right here. And we're going to line all the way up on there. Okay. Now, Axel, go grab me a piece of line. I've got some hanging. See that big loop around the pegboard up there? Yeah. Go ahead and grab a piece of that. And this is like I said, this is going to be our dummy switch right here, our extra switch, just in case something ever happened to these three. And I may go back to a 4-switch setup later on down the road. But right now, until I get it working properly, I would rather run on 3. Alright. There's that. We'll put that switch in just a second. No, that's Bubba's hose. One piece hanging right there, big loop hanging right there. That's mine. Yeah, it's like a big lasso up on the wall. We'll have to cut a piece to go to this T right here for the rear. I'll clean all this up when I put it in for the last time. I just need that one piece. Give me that piece in and cut a piece off of it. 80 miles of line right here. Yeah, about something like that right there. And we'll get this on. Alright. Put it off about right there. Alright, there's the back plumbed back in, and now to our other new switch in for the other side of the front. And then we'll fire this baby up and let it air up and get it off the ground while we work on that door right there. Wow, man, right here, going to need a piece. That's our piece right there, okay? So we need a piece that will go right there. Back in. Gotta get a big, you don't want to kink this line. So you need big sweeping turns with it if you've got to turn it. We might actually have to hooked up on our delivery side, and now we just need a piece, and we can use this piece right here we cut off. Even better. Right there. And right there. Okay. So now we're all wired up. I'm going to put my dummy switch on the end. and we have our gauge pump back together. Alright, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to start the car up, I'm going to watch the compressor, I'm going to run it up to about 120 psi, and we're going to air this thing up. So, let's go do that. Once I get this thing aired up, I'll come right back and we'll start that floor. So, let's do it. Alright, we've got her aired up now. And this is the ride height right here. So we're running 45 pounds in the front. We're running 40 pounds in the rear. That's what we're running, ain't it? We've got it timed to see if it's going to leak. Those switches worked out really well. The back came up even. And I kept the front on 2 switches so I could, you know, to do what you have in the car, you could offset the front of the bag for that weight. So we'll see how that works out. But, you know, we're timing it. We're going to leave it aired up. We're going to see how long it lasts. We got done with Bubba's, and his car will hold all week long and never let down. So that's the goal here. We've had a few problems along the way, but I think we're finally starting to get them worked out now. I've got my tank pressure cutting off at 120. I've got a couple of new switches where I blowed those off, those old ones off. I've got an extra switch in there. So let's move on. Let's go ahead and see if we can't get this floor fan straightened out while we're waiting to see if this thing's going to leak. So we'll start right here in the floor fan. Now I've already cut a small piece of metal for that little hole right there. I need a marker, Sharpie. Bubba had a Sharpie earlier. Go grab that Sharpie from him. I'm going to squeeze in right here on my stool. It's nice to be able to work on this thing with it up in the air a little bit anyway. A little piece of scrap, 18 gauge that I had. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it right over the hole. And there's an indentation right here. So I'm going to go right through that indentation. And then I'm going to mark this. Right there. So we need to cut that much off. And then we're going to look at it here. We'll come in. We really don't need this much, but we're going to want to cut this out and eliminate it and re-weld it back up. So we're going to cut this piece off first. I'm going to clean this up and then we'll see what we got, because we've got to have something here to weld to. There's an indentation right here, and obviously it was holding water, probably coming in from around these old seals and puddling right here in this indentation, and that's what eats that out. So let's get this crap here cut out and we'll go from there. I need an angle grinder and cut off wheel. Hey, that little scissor wheel is what I want. I'll go ahead and mark a straight line on this. And what we'll do is after I clean this up, we'll fix this up right. Here you go. Hey, will you take this over and cut it? I'm gonna cut this out right here. Actually, go grab me a pair of safety glasses.
Actually, someone will take it.
I'm just gonna use my little air wheel here to cut this out. I got it. Safety in this job. Trust me, you don't want to get nothing in your eye. I've been down that road. I learned that lesson the hard way. body saw so I can cut out the edges here. Get that little body saw out of that area. Looks like a little sawzall. Cut the rest of this out with a body saw. Side. I got my two cuts one way. Now I'm going to get my side cut up. Now we have a pretty straight hole right here. When he cuts me off that little piece of square metal and pulls it off, what we'll do is we'll mark it through this hole, and we want to drop that in flush. Maybe put a magnet on it before we weld it in. So now we might get all this right here kind of cleaned up. And get my little die grinder. Oh yeah, it's gonna work good, ain't it? Alright, got my little die grinder here. Around the brake the wheel. I'm gonna clean up around this right here. Got that hole all cleaned up. That little die grinder makes quick work of that. Bubba's getting our welder set up now. So now we're going to try to get this piece of metal to go right down in that hole. Not the best angle here. Work it. I'm going to mark it just a little heavy and we'll get it back as we go. Hey, here to cut this one off. I'm gonna have another cut for you too after this. We're gonna have to cut this until we get it, you know, to actually seat down in that hole. And ain't none of this stuff hard. It's basically just cutting out shapes and getting them to fit flush. I mean, it's time consuming more than anything. It's not really hard. You do it a couple times, it don't take long, and you get, you know, decent at it. Put it that way. Yeah, you got one of these old cars, you're gonna have this kind of work to do at some point. I mean, unless you buy something that's just stupid rust free, like out of New Mexico, California cars. And even some of them, I've got a New Mexico car. If these seals go bad, like in mine, 56 wagon, which is my wife, when we brought it home, I started in on the metal work. I noticed that even though it's a New Mexico car and all the major panels are relatively rust free, anywhere where there was glass in that car and water could come in, it would eat out the bottom of it. So, you know, like I said, there is, you know, a little bit of metal work. Even in them West Coast cars, there's metal work to be done. Oh, there's the rain. It's pouring rain. Ha! That right there is what they call a grass growing shower. A grass growing shower. Be mowing next week. Instead of working on cars, I guess. Alright, he's got that piece cut for us here, the first cut. Yeah.
There you go.
And that right there. That's
I'm
close.
waiting hard now.
Huh?
I'm waiting hard now.
Yeah, it's pouring now. That looks like a rain's been set in. That's pretty close cut. That's pretty good. We cut some things like this. There. There you go. Rain smells good, don't it?
Yeah.
Here you go. The dark black line. This is the last hole we have right here in this car to fill. And actually, you know, I put the floor pans in. I hadn't pulled off the carpet dividers, or whatever you may call them. When I pulled them up, you know, there was some surprises on the passenger side and this surprise over here on the driver's side. Them were the only two surprises though, so I was happy about that. And you know, we rust converted that over there. We sprayed the rust converter on it, turned black, let it dry for about a week, and then just went over it and just rusted it off and painted it. That's what we'll do on this side. Alright, we got that piece welded in. Now I'm just adding some seam sealer on here. And then we'll have to let this dry off. I'm going to rust convert all this. Made a mess out of seam sealer. I'll just be honest with you. Made a mess out of it. I mean, like I said, it ain't going to be seen as long as it's watertight and it ain't eaten up with rust. We're fine. So, that takes care of that issue. Now, I'll get actually come in with a vacuum and we'll clean all this right here. I've got these little screws I need to cut out too right quick. I'm going to have him clean and vacuum everything up right here. We're going to take a close look and inspect these wires, and then we'll rust convert it. And we'll call this right here is done. So I'll get him to clean it. We'll be back in a minute. Alright, now we got all that cleaned out. I'm going to take my little scuff wheel here. I'm going to clean up this rust just a little bit, and then we'll put the converter. Now with that kind of converter, you don't have to do this. I just want to knock some of the heavy rust off the top before I put the converter on it, and then just let it go. Once you put that on there, you just got to let it sit for several days and dry, and then you can come back and just paint right over the top of it. Since this is going to be covered anyway, that's what I like to do. Just clean it off, treat it, and then go back with the carpet and stuff. Should be fine. Good for that front door. Let's take a look inside this back door and see what we got. We got some more of the same here. No holes though, but it wouldn't take much to get a hole. So we're going to get all this treated right now and get it fixed so we don't have holes in the future. Put those wires out of the way. That rust converter, it's kind of expensive, but it's worth it. Get a gallon of it. You're going to mess with this stuff, have it on hand. It works wonders. That stuff's really good. Probably the best rust product that I've found. Take care of that. I'll let him vacuum this out, and then we'll come back with the rust converter. Alright, we got this clean, so now we're going to rust convert it. As you can see, this stuff is potent. I keep it in a little bottle here, so I don't keep it in a gallon jug. Easier to use and maintain in this. I've got my gloves on, glasses, and mask, because this stuff is potent. And all you do is just go on just like the other side. Just spray it on there. Get it good, get all of it covered, and then just let it sit, and it'll turn that black. Alright, that is rust converted. So we just let that sit now and dry off, and then we come back and we paint it. Alright, so we got the little hole fixed, thing sealed, got that edge cleaned up good, got the rust converter on it. Now we're just waiting on it to dry. I'll come back later this week, probably shoot another little 5 or 10 minute video to go along with this, just so you can see what that product looks like dry before I paint it. And it literally will turn that rust black. It will turn that metal black. Once it's black and dry, you're good. You can paint right over top of it. I did the other side. I can show you what the other side looks like again after painting it, and then get you a good shot of the outside out here. Now I've done a little bit more work on this side since then, but after it, I just shot right over it because it's going to be covered, and you can see what it looks like painted over. I mean, it's still rough, but the metal's rough, but that's okay because it's not going to be seen. So, you know, it is what it is. At least it's not rusting. At least it's not got holes in it. So that's everything for the floor pan. So now we're ready to start back with the interior. I know she's wrapping it. Be looking for videos on that. We didn't get to the alternator today because I still may have to move a car at some point today. So we'll get to that next time. I'm basically just going to pull the alternator off and have Bubba run it down to our local line. alternator repair guy, have him put it on steroids, bump it up. The air ride seems to be holding pretty good now. I don't see any issues. I found a little leak in here on the gauge. I'll need to tighten my gauge up a little bit, but I think we're good there. And yeah, we're moving on with this thing now. We get the interior back in. We've got some front end stuff. I'd already done a few videos. I had swapped out a few components on the front end. We're going to go back in, do a little bit more to that front end. I want to make sure that it's right and tight. And then this thing will be wrapped up. We'll be ready to cruise it. Put the interior back in, clean her up real good, get the front end right and tight, and we're good. So, I mean, until next time, you know, hey, don't buy it if you can build it, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. If you have any suggestions on anything that I could do better or another way of doing something, I'm open to trying anything. So, yeah, just drop it in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.